You open a spreadsheet at 11 at night because something doesn't add up. Not your math. Your life. You did everything right. You got the job. You avoided the credit card debt your friends warned you about. You even started a savings account in your 20s. And yet somehow you are still one bad month away from panic. Nobody taught you why. Here is the truth nobody says out loud in a classroom. Financial literacy was never missing from your education by accident. It was missing because the system that raised you was never built to teach you how money moves. It was built to teach you how to be useful inside a paycheck. Those are two very different educations. And the gap between them is exactly where your stress lives. Think about what you actually learned in school. You learned the quadratic formula. You learned the dates of wars you will never be tested on again. You did not learn what compound interest does to a credit card balance over 6 years. You did not learn what a 401k match actually means in dollars, or why a landlord's credit check is scoring you on a system you were never shown the rules of. Financial illiteracy is not a personal failure. It is the predictable result of a curriculum that never included the subject. So what actually happens instead? You learn money the way most people learn everything important. By accident. By watching your parents flinch at a bill, or never mention money at all, which teaches you just as much. Psychologists call this financial socialization, and researcher Joyce Cerrito at the University of Minnesota has spent years studying exactly how the money habits you carry into adulthood were absorbed silently, long before you ever opened a bank account. You didn't choose your relationship with money. You inherited it, like a language you learned before you knew you were learning anything at all. That's the reframe. Your money behavior isn't a character flaw. It's an inherited operating system running quietly in the background of every purchase, every hesitation at checkout, every time you avoid opening an app because you already know what it will say. Let's actually open it. Start with the concept everyone claims to understand but almost nobody has internalized. Compound interest. You've heard the phrase. You've nodded along in a YouTube video before. But here is what it actually means for your life. If you invest $200 a month starting at 25, assuming an average historical stock market return near 7% after inflation, you retire at 65 with roughly $500,000. Wait until 35 to start the same habit, and you retire with less than half that. Same monthly amount. Same discipline. The only difference is 10 years of time you can never buy back. That is not a hypothetical. That is arithmetic. Money that sits still loses to money that moves early every single time because growth compounds on top of itself, not just on top of what you put in. Now flip it. Debt runs the exact same math against you. A credit card balance at 22% interest doesn't just cost you the amount you borrowed. It compounds against you the same way an index fund compounds for you. That's why a $500 balance, left untouched, can quietly become $800 of real cost before you've bought a single new thing. Nobody explained that the math cuts both directions. They just told you not to get into debt like willpower was ever the actual mechanism at play. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. Your brain isn't wired to feel the difference between these two forces. Behavioral economist Richard Thaler, who won a Nobel Prize for exposing exactly this kind of blind spot, showed that people consistently value a dollar today far more than a dollar tomorrow, even when tomorrow's dollar is mathematically worth more. It's called present bias. Your brain evolved to prioritize immediate survival, not 30-year outcomes. Which means every time you choose the instant reward over the long one, you're not weak. You're running ancient software in a modern financial system that was specifically designed to exploit that exact tendency. Feel that for a second. The late notification on your credit card app. The subscription you forgot to cancel. The buy now, pay later button at checkout, appearing at the exact moment your guard is down. None of that is an accident. Companies employ behavioral scientists for the same reason casinos study attention. The system profits from your brain doing exactly what evolution built it to do. So what do the people who escape this actually do differently? This is where most financial content lies to you. It tells you rich people just budget harder. They don't. Research from Yale economist Robert Shiller and decades of household finance data show something quieter and more powerful. People who build wealth typically don't out-earn everyone else. They out-automate everyone else. They remove the decision entirely. The money moves before the impulse has a chance to argue with it. This is the part nobody tells you because it isn't exciting enough for a headline. Wealth isn't built through discipline in the moment. It's built through decisions made once, far away from the moment of temptation, that then run silently in the background for years. Setting an automatic transfer on payday. Increasing your 401k contribution by 1% every time you get a raise, before your lifestyle expands to absorb it. These aren't hacks. They're structural. They work precisely because they don't rely on your willpower ever showing up. Now here's the twist that changes how you see everyone around you. The people who look wealthy and the people who actually are wealthy are frequently not the same people. Economist Thomas Stanley spent years researching this exact gap in his work on American millionaires, and what he found broke almost every assumption. Most self-made millionaires in his research didn't drive luxury cars or live in the most expensive homes. They lived below their apparent means, often for decades, while the visibly successful neighbor with the new car in the driveway was frequently leveraged to the edge of collapse. What you see is not a balance sheet. It's a highlight reel. And you have been comparing your real financial life to other people's curated appearance for years without realizing the comparison was never fair to begin with. This is why social comparison quietly wrecks more financial plans than market crashes do. Every scroll through a feed showing vacations and new kitchens recalibrates what feels normal to spend, even when your actual income hasn't moved. Researchers call this lifestyle creep, and it's not about weak character. It's about a nervous system constantly recalibrating to its environment, which means the fix isn't more willpower. It's changing what you're constantly comparing yourself to, because you cannot out-discipline a comparison you don't even know you're running. So where does that leave you, practically, starting today? It starts with treating financial literacy the way you treat any other skill you were never formally taught. Not as a character trait you either have or don't, but as a system you can build, one decision at a time, mostly made once and then left alone. Automate the saving before you see the money. Understand that debt compounds against you exactly as aggressively as investing compounds for you. Stop measuring your progress against a highlight reel that was never showing you the truth in the first place. And understand this because it's the part that actually matters. You are not behind because you're bad with money. You are behind because nobody sat you down and explained the actual mechanics before the world started charging you for not knowing them. That ends the moment you decide it does. Not with a dramatic overhaul. With one automatic transfer set up tonight that runs quietly for the next 30 years while you live your life. You open a spreadsheet again. Except this time it's not 11 at night out of panic. It's a Tuesday afternoon, and for the first time the numbers aren't a mystery you're afraid of. They're a system you finally understand, one you built on purpose, one decision at a time.